Hello and welcome back, my fellow spacefarers, to this episode 8 of the unofficial Intergalactic Heretic Prophet podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Zink, and I'm super excited to welcome everyone back for this episode, which is our end of the year news roundup. I can hardly believe that 2025 has come to a close. I'm recording this episode in the final days of 2025. And yeah, just wanted to take this episode to round up all the news from September, October, November, and December. As many of you know, I also run the Ghost of Tsushima Yotei Gamecast with the release of Ghost of Yotei in October. I got a lot more busy than I expected I would be playing the game and just putting out content for it. So I'm excited to be back and giving some love to Intergalactic and giving everyone an update on, any new information, everything that's come out. So, yeah, we'll just dive right in here. All right. So lucky for all of you, I would say the biggest development on Intergalactic came really about a week or two ago. And it came in the form of an article from the newspaper Bloomberg. All right. So this article was released on December 18th, 2025. And it was from the very well-known gaming reporter Jason Schreier at Bloomberg. So I'm going to sum up, the article here. So it's essentially a report from, I guess, sources of his that Naughty Dog has ordered mandatory overtime for their staff for the previous 7 weeks before this to finish an internal demo that will be reviewed by Sony. So that's very interesting. And the article proceeds to say that the demo had already missed multiple deadlines. So I'm just going to add a couple more things in the article, and then we'll kind of dive into it and talk about it. So there was a lot more detail in the article just about very specific things about some of the work details, things like, that employees have been working 8 hours a week, but, never more than a certain amount, that, they were remote, but that was increased in the office time. So, and then there were just lots of things like employees had scrambled to make life adjustments as a result of it. So lots of things like that are very specific and lots of details that aren't really directly related to the game. But to me, these types of, extremely specific minor details, I would say add to, give the report some legitimacy, because those are just very specific things to be listing. And then, it says that the mandatory overtime ended, this week. And this was around December 18th when this article came out. And there's one part of the article that I also want to mention, but I'll get to it in a second. So let's just dive into some of this here. Yeah, so I mean, this internal demo, segment, I think that's really fascinating because we really, in 2025, have not seen nor heard, I don't think virtually anything from, PlayStation, from Sony or Naughty Dog, but with any updates on Intergalactic. And as you all know, if there had been anything, I would have reported it here. And other than all the things I was able to cobble together with just job postings and various musings out in the interwebs, there really was hardly anything. And, last year when the big trailer dropped for Intergalactic, I think there were some hopes that for this year at the Game Awards or, somewhere else around this time, that there might be more. There was nothing for Intergalactic at the Game Awards 2025. There has not been any new trailer. There really hasn't been hardly any new announcement or anything really. I would say this article from Bloomberg is probably the single most significant, legitimate, concrete piece of information we've gotten about anything. And even then, it's not an announcement from Sony or Naughty Dog themselves. It's a report from sources, presumably either within Naughty Dog or within Sony. So All of that is very interesting. I don't think any of this, bodes poorly. As a fan, I'm just disappointed because I'm so excited for the game and I want to, just hear more and learn more and, get into it. But, I'm sure clearly they're working really hard if they have mandatory overtime that they've implemented. And, if the demo has missed multiple deadlines, as this article allegedly says, to be reviewed by Sony, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it sucks that we have to wait so long for new games in this day and age, but I would rather have a game be really fantastic and like a really polished, finished product upon release, as opposed to games that might have, just releases that just damage what people think of them because they aren't ready or there are some problems. I mean, I think some games that can come to mind for that are Fallout 76 or, Cyberpunk, both of which I think now are pretty positively reviewed games and people really enjoy them. But at the time, they definitely seem to have like not great launches, and that kind of, I think dampened the whole mood and media atmosphere around them. So I definitely don't want that to happen with Intergalactic. So, just curious to see. I mean, if the mandatory overtime ended, maybe it's because they got that demo done for Sony. In which case, oh man, I'm just wondering how cool it must be to play and to see. But yeah, so that's all really interesting. And like I mentioned, all the minor details are just to me lend this article extra credibility. It just be kind of those are very random specific details to just make up or for even a source to just like make up and give to Bloomberg. So that's all very interesting. So here's the next thing I wanted to get into. And this was the final majorly noteworthy piece from this article. So this Bloomberg report suggests that internally, the studio, I don't know if that's specifically Naughty Dog or Sony, but they are targeting a mid-2027 release for Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I think, as I said before, I'm personally a little bummed because I'm just like, oh man, a year and a half away. And that's just what they're aiming for, according to this report. They're targeting, 2020, mid 2027. And I think a lot of the reports up to now, and just a lot of the internet chatter and everything, like 2027 seemed to be the year that it was going to be, but I think people kind of thought it would be maybe in early 2027. So, and here's the thing, I mean, if they're targeting mid 2027 for the release, but if we connect some dots here, if say, it was taking a long time to put together the internal demo, I mean, it could be possible they have to move that back to the end of 2027, and yeah, I mean, we could be waiting another 2 years potentially, until we see this game finally release. And yeah, I mean, hey, I love Naughty Dog, I love their games. I want to play it, but if they have to take the time that they need for it, then they should. Yeah, and I think that the other thing about having the release in 2027, so I'm going to move on to the next piece of information that came out that kind of ties into this. So PS5, so what Sony did is on YouTube, they released an official upcoming games in 2026 trailer. That's the title of it. So it was released December 14th of 2025. And long story short, it was like, I don't know, 1:38, something like that. And there was no mention of Intergalactic in this trailer. So I guess that's not necessarily to say, they couldn't shadow drop it at the end of 2026 or maybe midway through 2026 or something. But I don't know, or something else that could change that could make them want to drop it. But, it definitely isn't a great sign for a 2026 release if that's what one is hoping for, for that to not be included in the, official upcoming games 2026 trailer from Sony. I think that's a pretty pretty obvious, easy conclusion one can draw there. So yeah, I mean, putting these two things together, I mean, I'm gonna guess we're waiting till 2027 at least for this. And I just want to add, when I was doing my research for this episode and just catching up on truly anything that might be out there, I mean, I did come across, like a couple different things, just where people, well-informed people, were speculating on various things and just saying, well, like, and the problem is that the speculation is just all over the place. I mean, there was one, I think it was a guy on a podcast episode, and he was basically saying, like, well, it's like Sony's preparing for localization, which means, you're only doing that if you have a release coming soon, which he was saying it was going to be in 2026, but, then Jason Schreier in this article is like pretty definitively saying it will not be a 2026 release, and there's been other people saying that too. So, I mean, hey, it's hard. Like, we're just speculating. I feel like let me just say this to all of y'all. I feel like the Ghost of Tsushima Yotei podcast that I have is a bit more exciting than this one right now because there's games out, and I'm able to actually talk about games and play them and analyze stuff that's in the games. Whereas a lot of this podcast is just like, I don't know, maybe this is true, maybe that's true. I don't know, and I mean it's crazy, and the last time I put out an episode for this podcast, this past August, I mean, I was saying like, well, maybe in the next couple of months we'll get something. Who knows? And it's been 3 or 4 months since then, and we literally don't have virtually anything concrete other than what I've mentioned here, which concrete is being used pretty loosely there. So yeah, I mean, I think that's most of the updates there on that. There were a couple other things that I came across that I thought would be worth mentioning here. So I will get to you know what? I'm going to get to the next one in just a second. But first, we are going to go to the mid-break of the show, putting you all through the teleporter. Okay, and we're back for the mid-break of this episode 8. So there are no new comments or reviews on any of the episodes, at least as far as I'm aware. There hasn't been, obviously I haven't been posting tons of episodes because there's literally not really anything to talk about, but if anybody leaves comments or reviews, I will read them out, and hey, you'll get your name shouted out here if you want it shouted out. And so so no new comments or reviews, and for our next segment in the mid-break, doing our Reddit chatter, just picking out a post from the Intergalactic subreddit and just, talking about, what's in it and just what some of the various moods are. So the post I picked out was actually one of the most recent ones, from end of December here. And so it was from a user named Mr. Killer 1, and the title of the post is Vehicles and Building, Retrofuturistic City / Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet. And yeah, it's kind of a short 5 to 6 second clip of when you see AJ on the TV screen talking to Jordan, and you see the futuristic city in the background. And, in the video, the person has, well, actually it's about a 20-second video. They're kind of just circling, and slowing down so that you can see the, like flying cars and, the buildings and just how it looks like a very retrofuturistic city. And so then along with that video, there is the comments underneath is what the person writes along with the post. I hope we can visit this place and interact with it in one way or another. I don't want to speculate about something and then blame Naughty Dog for something they didn't promise. And, that is the whole post. So yeah, I mean, I love this. I'm so fascinated by like the world they're gonna invent, and I think we talked about like what is Earth gonna be like? Are we ever gonna see Earth? And that's kind of, well, and here's the other thing. As far as we know, we don't necessarily know that AJ is on Earth in this video. it's entirely possible that AJ is on a different planet that's not Earth, that has been, colonized or industrialized, and where there's a human or intergalactic species settlement that exists there. So that's really interesting to consider. And yeah, I mean, I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I have a feeling in the game we're not gonna leave Semperia. I think it's maybe the game ends with like, you finish the story, whatever that is, and then you like repair your ship, and then it's like you're blasting off from Semperia, and then maybe the next game, if there is a next game, like you're seeing the wider universe. But I have a feeling we're not going to see any other planets in this game. That's just my prediction. I would love to be wrong, because I would love to see this type of futuristic, retro-futuristic city as well. And yeah, I mean, I applaud this, this poster for saying, I don't want to speculate about something and then blame Naughty Dog for something they didn't promise. And yeah, that's the case. I mean, we're being teased with, an entire universe that they're a brand new, IP that they're putting together right now. And, I think there's going to be a lot that is teased and shown that we're not going to see fully in this game. And I kind of already went over that in the very first episode of this podcast about the trailer, where it's like there's so many different little details that are put in the trailer that really missed like a lot of analysis out in the world. And there's a lot to talk about. They're clearly flushing out a very in-depth universe for this, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see for what it's really like. And what's interesting is one of the comments on this Reddit post, it actually says, this person is saying they think we will see things outside of Semperia in flashbacks, or hopefully, get to see what's shown in the trailer, and talking about seeing the city where AJ is. That's interesting. Flashbacks could be possible. If there are flashbacks, again, I'm just gonna put my own opinion out there. I would guess they're gonna be short, and I would love to know like how detailed they'll be, if we'll like even know the name of the planet that you're on, and like that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, hey, this post is cool. And there's 30 comments on it in total. I encourage everyone to join the subreddit and check it out. So yeah, and then the only other part of the mid break is our "What Are We Excited For" segment. And I'll just throw it in with this post. I mean, I'm excited for the wider parts of the universe that they've created, and to see it all. And maybe we won't see the retro-futuristic city in this first game, or we won't play in it. But even if we get a second video call with AJ where you can see something else with more detail of the retro-futuristic city, and you get to see it, hey, that'd be cool. So yeah, I'm excited for any of that. And with that, we will wrap up our mid-break and head back through the teleporter to the rest of the show. Okay, welcome back everyone from the mid-break to the rest of the show. I hope you all didn't have too bumpy of a trip through the teleporter. All right, so next we're going to get into kind of a very random piece of information that was discovered by a user about allegedly, like it looks like this is some information about the game. So here's what it is. So I guess there is a Last of Us modder and a YouTuber whose name is Specializer. So Specializer basically just spends lots of time on The Last of Us, playing both games and putting out content like that. So on October 29th, 2025, this user released what I think was a Twitter post, saying that there's two pieces of data inside one of the one of the Last of Us game files. So I guess these are like little pieces of code or something discovered in the game files that this that this user found. So here's what they found. So there's, I guess, the piece of code, one of the pieces, it's a hoodie outfit for Jordan. And so I guess the code or the data, it read Jorah hoodie no cloth. So that's Jorah hoodie no cloth. So it's very interesting. That seems to say that, like, internally, the name that they're using for Jordan is Jorah, and I guess that could make sense. It's like shorter to say, So I wonder if that could be a nickname that someone is maybe going to have for Jordan in the game. What's interesting about Jorah is, it's Jordan A Mun, so Jorah kind of shortens it, so that's just interesting. And again, like, hoodie no cloth, and in The Last of Us, I mean, there's no characters named Jorah, and there's not even any characters with, I mean, there's Joel, but other than Joel, like, there's not any characters that even have a name that's close to Jordan or Jorah, so I don't really know what that would be in The Last of Us game files for. And just want to say, if there's anybody from Naughty Dog or from Sony listening to this episode, and you're listening to me sitting here speculating from just any straws I can grasp at on the internet, I hope you're having a fun time, chuckling to yourself, because, hey, we all love this. We all love Naughty Dog, and we're just excited for what comes next. And that's what I'm doing here. Not trying to put out misinformation or anything. I'm just trying to speculate because I'm excited. So, all right. So then there's then another, like, a longer piece of data that this user found. So here's what it is. It reads, a prayer. I tracked the heretic for hours, only to be led into a trap. I trapped him upstairs with the demons, but not before he shot me. May the demons send him to hell. Then there's another line. If I should die by the hands of a heretic. And yeah, I mean, that's it. that's all that's in this post. So yeah, I mean, again, like, I don't know why any of this would be in Last of Us game files. And it could have been just an accident. Like, if there was an update or, something like, or like, let's say, the complete edition or something like that. I don't remember the exact date when the complete edition, I think it was this year, was released for The Last of Us, but sometime in the last year or two. And, anything that Naughty Dog's putting out, I guess theoretically there could accidentally or maybe intentionally, I don't know, be these sorts of, little clues hidden in the game files. Pretty cool that there's someone out there who came across these. I don't know if they were looking for it, but yeah, I mean, a prayer, that's the start of the sentence. I don't really know what to make of that exactly. But then it says, I tracked the heretic for hours only to be led into a trap. So it then says, I trapped him upstairs with the demons, but not before he shot me. So, I mean, I take this to mean, at least in this wording, they're not talking about Jordan. I mean, for all we know, they're talking about Colin Graves or a different member of the Five Aces. They could be talking about someone else. I mean, this could be just like a random note that you come across in the world somewhere. But we really just don't know. And it sure sounds like whoever writes this, if they do, if any of this is true at all, it sure sounds like this person ends up dying from, from being shot. And again, we don't know, is that going to be a bullet wound? Is that going to be a laser wound? Is it going to be a crossbow wound or some sort of energy weapon that is used? Could it be a slingshot? We're in the future on Semperia, but people are, using slingshots and rocks. Yeah, we don't know. So, yeah, I mean, so here's what's interesting about this. How it says, may the demons send him to hell. And then it also says in the next line, if I should die by the hands of a heretic. So the one thing I can think of with this is that both, heretic and demons are words pretty commonly used by the Seraphites in The Last of Us Part 2. And most people are familiar with I think that game and that lore, especially if you're listening to this podcast. But I mean, demons are what the Seraphites call the infected, and heretics are how they refer to Lev and Yara, and it seems like just anybody who generally I don't know, I guess was in their society but doesn't speak up, or speaks up against them. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I know all of the Last of Us. I know both games pretty well. I got all the achievements on Steam for The Last of Us Part 1. I got nearly all of them for The Last of Us Part 2. But I did find all the collectibles. I read everything. I don't remember any of this being a part of the collectibles. So, yeah, that's what's interesting. I mean, is this just deleted dialogue, maybe, for the game that somehow just made its way into the game data? I just don't know. And if anybody's listening to this who has thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments, or, hey, reach out to send us an email, join the Robots Radio Discord channel where we, have this. We'll have our channel. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say more about it, but I mean, I've speculated about all I can, and I mean, it'd be cool if heretics and demons. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if those words are in Intergalactic, the game, because it does seem like religion is gonna be a fairly significant part of the game, and the ancient Semperiums on Semperia. So who knows what we'll find there. But yeah, I would say that's the last of some of the more interesting pieces of information that there is. And I would say for the final part of this episode, yeah, I'm just gonna cover the job postings from Naughty Dog. I've been doing that, and these are kind of just a fun way to keep up with it. There have been a bunch of job postings, and I'll just read them here and just give you guys a little description of what they are and everything. So a month ago, Naughty Dog posted for a principal audio systems engineer, and there's just a whole description about how this person would manage and implement audio software, and oversee integration of conference room technology, which I think that's interesting. Working closely with their audio department to enhance gaming experiences. Just there's a whole lot there. Now, what's interesting about this is with each one of these job postings, they post a photo with it and the title of the job and the Naughty Dog logo on the photo and everything. So for this post, it's actually a picture of Jordan, and it's kind of that iconic picture of Jordan holding the red, the red sword or red weapon, in front of the destroyed moon in front of Semperia. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty explicit reference that maybe this principal audio systems engineer is for Intergalactic, so that's interesting. So the next one is 2 months ago, and they were hiring an associate QA tester, language development support Italian. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it says, are you a gaming enthusiast fluent in Italian and English? We're seeking a detail-oriented associate tester, And so there's, again, more there, but I won't read all of it. And what's interesting with that is the photo, along with this one, is a photo of the Porsche, the spaceship that Jordan flies, in that clip before it flies down to the planet and the moon, just hovering above Semperia. So again, another pretty explicit reference to Intergalactic. So then the next one was 2 months ago. They're hiring for a senior technical artist, and there's a whole long description about, technical skills and artistic vision, and, just talking about dynamic visual aesthetics for the games and, various things like that. The photo for that one is a picture of Jordan in the kind of iconic jacket with the horse head and that sunset on the back, and you're just seeing Jordan from the back in the cockpit of the spaceship. Looks like this was from when Jordan is walking into the cockpit, and it's frozen, and they just took a screenshot there. And then there's that, and then yeah, I mean, After that, there's another one from 2 months ago, another associate QA tester with language development support in German. Similar post. In this case, the photo is a skeleton in a cage, kind of looks like an old pirate. I have a feeling this is from Uncharted. I haven't played the Uncharted games, so I don't know for sure, but that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, and then there's there's a couple more posts for a senior systems administrator, an associate QA tester, language development support Japanese, and both of those pictures, it's like a picture of Joel from The Last of Us. The other Japanese language tester is a picture of the boat that you find at the beach at the very end of Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, and then I mean, just a couple other postings since our last episode. There's a camera layout artist, picture of Joel, an IT coordinator, picture of Jordan, and then a senior technical gameplay animator, picture of the Porsche spaceship already used. Yeah, so I mean that pretty much covers, about everything. I mean, there's a couple others, another associate tester, senior game designer level, senior game designer combat. So I mean, hey, clearly they're getting going on all this, and that all feels very exciting. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have too much more to say. I mean, we could, for many of those job postings, we could theoretically just dive in and be like, oh, a level designer. I mean, what does that mean? What are the levels going to be like? And, maybe in, a couple weeks or a month or something, I'll release another episode about just pure speculation about the level design and what that would be like. I'm really doing my best here to think up content for this podcast. It's definitely a bit challenging when there's literally no information about this game to talk about, but I'm going to keep finding a way because I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. So I guess with that, we'll wrap up the episode. Just want to say thank you to all of our fans for tuning in. And hey, I'm just telling all of y'all, there's going to be a day when this game is released, and there's going to be a lot to talk about, and I can't wait for that. But until then, we will make do with what we can. If you're interested in chatting with us, join the Robots Radio Discord channel and find, or the Discord server. You can find our Discord channel on there. And you can find links to all our social media in the show notes. Feel free to reach out. I hope all of you take care and be careful if you're on any intergalactic adventures.